Let me show you something crazy. Look at the screen. Okay, it's not that. Look down. Down at this. The sea, the underocean, the abyss, and this, the edge. Here it is disappearing into the depths, and that's what we'll be talking about today. While this expansion has been expanding the lore horizons of this Arathi Empire from the other side of Azeroth, it's also been laying down the absolutely colossal mystery at the bottom of our oceans. And it all started with a side quest with a peculiar fish, one that transpired to be a Kraken in disguise, and from there, the story only gets stranger. So let me bring you on a journey through the most unexplored regions of Azeroth, the Abyssal Depths. The depths of today's sponsor. They're a favorite of mine and a true supporter of the channel, boot.dev, and here's the deal with them. They'll teach you back-end web development with Python and Go, but importantly, they're a cut above the rest, and they are designed for people like you and me. That's because the founders are viewers of this channel and big gamers. So, boot.dev is also a community RPG. I mean, just look at this juicy real-time leaderboard. It's so satisfying to watch people do the lessons. So they've got quests, XP, community boss battles, and it's all supporting an extremely thorough, detailed, and career-oriented learning pathway that will take you right from the basics of Python through to full back-end development, even with some fun side quests like remaking asteroids in Pygame and vital game-adjacent skills, things like mastering Git that you're just going to need to know. Back-end development is a highly paid career path as well, averaging $100,000 a year in the US, often great contracts, flexible working, that kind of thing, and Boot just do it better than everyone else, and these are real transferable skills. You can check them out today at boot.dev/Bellular Warcraft. There, you'll get 25% off your first purchase. I'd go annual for the biggest saving, and if it's not for you, that's okay, because they've got a no questions asked 30-day refund period, and you can even browse their materials and their demos and all that juicy stuff for free. Today's story begins with the Arathi, and since they crashed into Hallowfall, the Kobyss have been a problem. At first, fishermen would go missing. Reports from the homesteads by the shore warned that people's reflections would jump out of the water and drag them into the depths. With that happening, the Arathi, either desperate or hopeful, decided to send diplomats, but those diplomats ended in the same fate. There is no talking to the Kobyss. Their only drive is to kill and eat. They are a primal species from the crushing depths where competition is king. And that is what brings us to the Sunless Strand in Hallowfall, and a particular side quest that blew our minds. If you pick up the quest Targeted Recon from Lamplighter Joseph Bravemark in Mereldar, you'll go hunting Kobyss, and that is where our story begins. A lucky Kobyss scooped up a particularly tasty-looking purple fish, but just in time, we cut the Kobyss down, saving the fish's life. Looking down, we see a pathetic fish near death, but then we hear a voice. Put me in the water, away from the Kobyss, away from the sky. Turns out, this is no normal fish, and as thanks for saving its life, it shows us how to take down the Kobyss using their own tricks. He explains to us that the Kobyss have powerful illusions, the doppelgangers that they create and hang from their fins to lure in unsuspecting prey. Concerningly, we learn that it is not a natural ability that they have, that it's an ability that they stole from somewhere deep within the Undersea. He elaborates, and we learn that rather than some biological adaptation as with the anglerfish, these are actually Sunless Shards, crystals found at the very depths of the Undersea that curiously reflect no light. Now, the War Within has shown us some powerful crystals. Bellular is obviously one. The Siren Isle has others, and as we'll soon discover, people in the past used shards of the Siren Isles to power things. In the upcoming patch, we'll literally be hunting citrines that are carved from crystals for power for our characters, and those citrines will likely have a void counterpart. So with that in mind, and looking at this side quest, it's tempting to see these Sunless Shards as fragments of another crystal that long turned to void at the bottom of the ocean. But for now, all that we knew is that these are void shards of a void crystal, that they're down there, and that the Kobyss use them to create lures to hunt their prey. The next step in our story shows us what else is down there. Now that we have the Sunless Shards that power the Kobyss illusions, we needed to learn what illusion would transfix their minds, because we were going to use their power against them. The fish tells us that the one thing that can lower their guard is the voices from the deep, and that's where things get a little bit crazy. We end up finding 3 shrines. Each one has an abyss whisper echoing the words of whatever is down there, and we do not know what is down there, but here are the words. They are gone, but their blood remains. The blood remembers. This strikes us as a clear reference to the old gods. We know the old gods are dead, but their blood remains under the earth. We know it has power, as we saw with the Shah of Pandaria, and it is a key to Xal'atath's plan. So with that setup in mind, we continue on the quest, and we find the next shrine, where we get the next whisper. Swim in these dark waters and be changed by them. No light shines in these depths. A menacing whisper that leads me to a quick history lesson. These are the Ankoan. The Ankoan are an offshoot of the Jinyu who of course we met during Mists of Pandaria. The Ankoan evolved to swim in the depths of the ocean. That made them natural enemies of the Naga, and they've been at war with the Naga ever since. Evidence of this war can be found in Hallowfall. If you go to World Soul Memory, Descendants of Distant Waters, we see the Ankoan fighting a losing battle against the Naga. Thousands of years later, we find the Kobyss in that same spot, whose name sounds like a mix of Ankoan and Abyss. Putting these clues together, the logic would be that the Naga drove the Ankoan to the depths of the Undersea, and there they swam in its dark waters, and they were changed by whatever they found in its depths. And with that history in mind, we know something is under the sea. Is it old god blood? Is it a void crystal? Whatever it is, it changed the Ankoan into Kobyss, and that knowledge should worry us. As we'll see in a minute, Bellular hangs precariously over that water, and we have been explicitly warned about it. But before then, we have one final whisper. Dark blood rains from a false sky. It tastes of wars past and wars to come. Now, false sky probably refers to the cave ceiling of Hallowfall. Dark blood is again almost certainly that of the old gods. And remember, blood remembers. It absorbs the emotion of past wars. That's hardly a surprise. Again, think of the Shah of Pandaria. Everything that happened in that campaign. So we go to these three shrines. We then return to the fish. And using the shards and the knowledge of the shrines, the fish is able to cast an illusion on us. And so, in the guise of a Kobyss, we are able to infiltrate towards and gut their leader. We end the immediate threat, but that is not the end of this story. The fish then speaks to us, reaches out again and asks us to take it to the deep waters where its family are waiting. And of course, being a good adventurer, we do just that. And when we do, it thanks us, and it transforms into a Zoetroid, a mind-stealing juvenile Kraken. Off in the distance, we see its family, an abyssal leviathan, a creature from the depths, and our fish friend leaves us with a parting warning. Now I return to the sea beneath the sea, away from this accursed star. Bring its light to our depths, and we shall be your crushing end. Thinking about that statement, we obviously know that it hates the light, but this feels like a true warning, especially when you consider the Arathi mission to chart the entirety of Hallowfall. As an example, a journal found in one dead scout makes it clear that he wants to bring Bellular's light past the dark ocean. That is literally written in text we find during this expansion, right at the same time, where this mysterious fish warns us not to go there. And remarkably, this echoes a legendary item in Warcraft lore called the Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron. This was discovered by archaeologists during the Cataclysm, right after we of course had defeated Yogg-Saron, and it whispers to us when we use it that at the bottom of the ocean, even light must die. And thinking about light, well, look up. Look at Bellular. It is established here for a reason. Bellular, when in its light cycle, is an affront to whatever resides in the ocean's deepest trenches. And of course, Bellular now changes to void. So we have to wonder, could it be stuck in its void cycle? What would happen if it fell? If it fell to the bottom of the ocean and its light was brought to those depths, which is exactly what our fish friend warns us not to do, not to allow to happen. But of course, while I say fish, you know that's not the case. It's not a fish, it's something else, and it's something that we've seen before, though admittedly, not for quite some time. The Abyssal Plane sounds fantastical, like something in Azeroth, and it is, but it's also the name of the deepest regions of Earth's oceans. 6,000 meters down and covering 60% of the planet. It is the least explored part of our world, and from what we know of Azeroth's oceans, it's pretty much the same, and just like Earth, there is a lot going down there. We have only seen tiny glimpses. Kraken are huge squid-like creatures that we've seen throughout Azeroth. Sometimes, like with Ozumat, Patriarch of the Kraken, they are bent to the will of the Naga or the Old Gods. There are even Kraken in Hallowfall. But long ago, Kraken were the servants of Neptulon, the elemental lord of water. Now, those lords existed before the old gods found Azeroth. They, in a way, are natural as our world soul, because before anything rained down onto the planet, there was the planet, the elements, and the basic materials of life. And if the Kraken served Neptulon, we know that they were in fact one of the early evolutionary steps from water elemental to flesh and blood creature, making them some of the first children of Azeroth. So, our peculiar fish is not aligned with the Kobyss, or even with Xal'atath, but they'll still crush us if we bring the light to their domain, which shows us that the void may exist within the abyss, and also that it may even be a natural part of our world, which would hardly be a surprise. It is beginning to look like Azeroth is, essentially, an entity of cosmic balance, that it has part of everything in it, just that the Titans wanted to make their side of things rule, hence all their machinery. Finally, we come to the biggest name associated with the depths, N'Zoth. You see, N'Zoth's prison, the Circle of Stars, was located in the abyssal depths, which means it must have been a massive task for Arcadis to build it. But of course, now N'Zoth is dead, and his blood is likely being used in someone's plan. In the Dragonblight expansion, we actually visited the Black Empire at its height, and when we were there, N'Zoth saw us and recognized us. He knew that in the far future, we could be his end. Remember that old gods are creatures that can see many different futures in time. They just don't know which will come to pass. But by going to the past, he would have been able to confirm basically which timeline would end up transpiring. And that is why one of his prophecies that he spoke is extremely relevant here. Listen to this.
With many eyes, they will see again. They will drink and be uplifted.
Now that we're in Khazalgar, that is quite obviously a reference to the ascended Nerubians that we fought at the start of the expansion. Those Nerubians ascended using old god blood. Listen to the next whisper.
Deeper, deeper its roots will reach, welcoming our embrace.
That one looks quite obvious now, doesn't it? We're seeing the roots of Eluna here in Azj-Kahet. That's what happens when we go into that zone. We see the roots mixing with the blood and fusing. And when they fuse, it seems to bring about the unseeming, some sort of realm or plane that we've never seen before. One final whisper.
You will follow him to the deep places. The dark waters will flow in his wake.
It's hard to know who the he is. It could be Magni, it could be somebody else, but dark waters flowing in his wake, I certainly think about the peculiar fish and the warning that it gave us. And that brings us close to the end of today's mystery. Putting all of this together, we know that Bellular is powerful in the light. It even appears to look like Oshu'gun, a Naru ship. So there's something going on there. Yet, opposite of it, at the very bottom of that ocean, there seems to be something primally, fundamentally of the void, and in a way that's not necessarily tied to Xal'atath, as of course we learn via our fishy friend. There's something going on, something is being set up, and when we look at those quotes from N'Zoth, as were revealed to us in Dragonflight, well, we see the roots. We see dark waters, we see black blood, we see that being drank in Ascension. All of these things are beginning to come together, cross over, and soon, I believe, there will be answers. Now, if you want more there, if you want to know what's going on with N'Zoth's whispers that are referencing the roots, check out this video on the Haranir and the World Tree roots that they are sworn to protect.